I wondered if we could start at number 1, which is that it's about 3 before this slide. But anyway, this is live action in Norwell. This is the Tauntaun, the beast that Luke was riding, and also Han was riding. And there's actually a long story that I'll try to make simplified. When we first got here, Phil Tippett and I needed to search for calf skin, white calf skin, and preferably raw, untreated, untanned calf skin. And we needed the hairs to be as small as possible. And it's actually even a little grim that we were looking for unborn white calf skin. And I always think that when we went around the Bay Area, the taxidermists and people thought, are these guys devil worshippers or what, that they would want an unborn calf?
Well, how big is this model that we're looking at?
Phil's hand is over here on the side, so you can see that it's about 12 inches tall, something like that. And inside it has a mechanical structure, an aluminum structure that allows, like its bone system. Yeah. Now, and this is what every time you would see just the head with Luke right behind it, this would be what they had in Norway on the glacier. A little bit harder to see, but it would just be the head, and it would be like as if galloping, that kind of thing. Now, this is the
Wampa.
Wampa. Yeah. I forget after all these years sometimes. Anyway, this is looking from ILM, looking north, and now all of that area, Ireland green there, is totally filled with buildings. I think it's a health center and things like that on Kerner. But Phil Tippett, the guy in the blue shirt, did this and did the fur and covered it with white wax, the frozen drool coming out of the thing. And this next picture, when George decided to re-release Empire, he then wanted more Wampa, rather than just a Wampa head.
Yeah, like more cowbell.
Yeah, more Wampa. Yeah. So we did a full suit with a guy inside, and the next slide is Howie Weed.
That's our good friend Howie Weed.
I'm not sure if Howie Weed is here. Give a little yell, Howie, if you're here.
His friends are.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, so this is a big cave that we made, and up the scale of the whole thing, and he wanted to be the person in the suit.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a scene of the walkers, and in the foreground is about the 24-inch walker, and it's a smaller walker in the background, as I remember, on this one over here, to kind of force the perspective. One slide. Yeah, now here, I think, is Phil Tippett hopping out of a trap door in the snow, and he has to manipulate the walker for every frame. 24 frames a second, so every frame he pops out and moves the walker just a little bit.
So what is the snow? What is it?
The snow is mainly baking soda, and you can get industrial baking soda at 3 different powder levels, and then we mix stuff called microballoons in with it.
Hoth quality.
Yeah, Hoth quality baking soda. And yeah, you'd have your little white rim around your nose, which is kind of a dangerous look in Center of in the 80s.
We won't go into that.
Yeah. So here, I'll back one slide. Can you go back easily enough? Back. I don't know what the motion, yeah. So this was like a big hand puppet. And of course we had a photograph, we stuck a hand out so that you could see the scale. And it had a big, like a thing like this, and the jaw would close. This asteroid, there's a lot of kitty litter that was all splintered all over the surface here. Next slide. So for the interior, what we had to do is we made a very big esophagus with large teeth, and I'm there carving a rib. Back in the days when I didn't realize that, as I look back and I think, my God, maybe I shouldn't have gone for the Charles Manson look. Too dark a beard. But that was the inside of the esophagus, and the next frame is the Millennium Falcon traveling through those teeth. And each of those teeth was about 7 inches tall, 8 inches tall, made of a real ivory kind of a material. Next. Yeah, that's what it looks like coming out of the asteroid. or a crater on an asteroid. Next slide. This is Marianne Evans, one of the cameramen, and or cameramen, and the Death Star. It's an interesting story about this, that when we very first got here, it was only men. It was all men that was working. And I one time had a meeting within the model shop and said, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? What displeases you? What are you happy about? You know, all that kind of stuff. And one of the guys jumps up and he says, we need to hire some women here, you know? Because even at the Christmas parties, people say, well, I don't have anybody to go with, you know? We'd have like a Christmas party for 25 people. So we started a campaign of looking for women, which one begat another, another. Eventually the CG world is almost, it's not exactly 50-50, but it was close to 50-50 at ILM by the time we finished. By the finished Jedi. Next. Now this is a very large version of the conning tower off the White Star Destroyer, that ship that you see at the very, very beginning of the film. And we had to do it this a detail this size because it's the scene where the junk is rejected out the back of the tower, and the Millennium Falcon hides within the junk, and Boba Fett follows them. So we were going to have a close-up, so we had to do a big detail of the next slide. Oh, there, that is the next one. That's with the Millennium Falcon, a 2-foot Millennium Falcon. We originally built a 4-foot Millennium Falcon, then we built a 2-foot Millennium Falcon, then a 6-inch Millennium Falcon, and a 2-inch Millennium Falcon.
And I think the first one, correct me if I'm wrong, was it made out of wood? I think you told me it was
Made of wood and aluminum. It had an inner structure of aluminum, plastic, and a thin rim of wood.
It was very heavy, too.
Yeah, it took, usually 4 people would lift it. And the 2-foot one was all made out of aluminum. And in a way, if you see back-to-back Star Wars and Empire, you can see that the Empire ship is much more acrobatic.
Sure.
And it was because it was so much lighter.
Sure.
Next slide. Yeah, here we are constructing the 2-foot Millennium Falcon when we got up here. We didn't have that until we started doing Empire. All kinds of little pieces mounted. Next. Now here, this is the ball on the top of the White Star Destroyer. And if you look on the top of Mount Tam, especially if you've lived here for a couple of years, there were 2 radomes in the very top of Mount Tam. And I always describe that as being, that's like the Rosetta Stone for telling the size of the Millennium Falcon, because they are about 80 feet in diameter. And if you know from the original White Star Destroyer, the little radomes were only a quarter of an inch, so you can use some algebra to figure that out.
Well, let me ask you something, because this is a question that has been bugging me for a long time, because it's got a mythology around it. Boba Fett's ship. Do you guys know what I'm going to ask? There's this story about it being from a street light. The shape of it. Is that true?
The artist Nilo Rodis, who at various times he's denied that it was from a street lamp, but a very close friend of mine was right with him the day that he went, look at that lamp. And there is one, if you're heading south on the freeway, you've just passed Lucas Valley Road, and you keep looking on the right-hand side, and about maybe within the next half mile or so, you look up and there'll be one lighting fixture over the freeway that'll look like Boba Fett's ship. The other more modern ones are a little square and smaller, but it has that disc and that kind of like the gooseneck that sticks out. And I personally have taken a long lens and taken a photograph of one of those to prove it. But,
all right. So you heard it here.
Yeah. I always wondered why someone couldn't go to one of those yards and say, can I cut that off and have that lighting fixture? Yeah, so here it is when you have an explosion, it's much better to have a very large model. And so we built a very large size of it, even bigger than the one you saw previously, so that we could blow up that thing. I think it was partly made out of plexiglass and then a very brittle wax that we came up with, a formula of Carnauba wax. Next.
Actually, I think we're almost out of time.
We're almost finished.
But we covered sheepskin, Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Funny stuff on your nose.
Yeah.
So
I
I think we did pretty good.
Zap through the rest of them really quickly, maybe? Big white shorters, couple of sizes. The
Really
smallest
shows its
Millennium
scale.
Falcon, yeah, next. And thousands of fiber optics inside. This is this is from Jedi. I've screwed up on this. But I was told just
Next
to
one.
rent those little trees, and their fire wouldn't be that big. And it blew up, and every single one of the trees that I was supposed to return for a refund got burned up.
Well, on that note,
So we could actually go on for long
yes,
time.
we can, yes. Well, listen, I want to thank Mr. Lorne Peterson for coming out tonight. Big round of applause for him.
Thank you.